You are already there. That's the theme of the week. When the weekend started, I pulled a card, which I enjoyed to do, to kind of get a sense of what may show up this weekend as a theme. And it started off with this card, which I'll read to you, but it ended up with a different one, but they're very strongly linked. The card that was pulled was value. Appreciate yourself. Cherish and respect yourself. Do not undervalue your talents. Be prepared to put a value on your efforts. Every experience is to be valued, whether you understand the lesson or not. There may be greater worth in something than you first saw. And that certainly played out. You are already there was so evident with the first being that I saw this week. And what happens with those who are accomplished, talented, passionate, love life, enter into it with great gusto, not recognizing fully or seeing fully who they are, which is a journey in itself to come to appreciate that. And in not seeing it, striving and working so hard as if there is somewhere to get, reading books, continuing to have a sense of what else do I really need to do. When you have a sense of you're already there, you value the journey, you value your insights, out of which you made choices which weren't necessarily easy. And in that, more value can be seen rather than I have to work harder on this journey. When am I going to really get there and make it? When that value is recognized, there's a sense of I'm already there. And then what shows up is the playing field of how you now interact and play with that. And in the play of being there, and in how you then engage, there's this natural, by default, progression that takes place. And all the striving in the world does not have that sense of play in it, unless that is the play itself. You're there and that is the play. That's a different sense of being there that you choose to play with in that way. But it's still play, being, doing the process. I often see the word whirled spelt as W-H-I-R-L-E-D, whirled. And there's no doubt we are all this incredible whirled spiral that if we are centered, and the eye in the tornado, incredible things can come into that aspect that one holds there. But you're already there. It depends on how you hold that space and what stories you have. As was mentioned in the value card, sometimes we don't even know what value was in past stories. And hopefully you have revisited some of your stories and seen it in a different light and see the power in it rather than how terrible it was. And that's what showed up for one being, where very, very distraught. And what it went back to, because it went into, this is to do with the past. And looking into the past, what we found was this being as a small girl. And there was a challenge that came. And it was like a challenge of, oh, I don't like who you are, blah, blah, blah. And this being knew, I can't change. This is it. This is who I am, and I'm not going to put my mind to anything else other than that. And the strength of that, the strength of that. What happens as we go through the years? We get minded by society, we get minded by other people's stories, and then we refer back and go, that's not good. We change the power of that story and whittle it away by things not being how they should be, how the world says it should be. I mean, how many stories have we got about how our parents should have been, and how our children also feel how we should have been? The stories don't end, they're stories. The reflection is you're already there. Hard to see when you're very small, and blessed are those who can. So it was that element of you're already there, instead of having this incredible burden of I have to do it all, I want to do it all, and that energy of productive was very present this weekend in some beings, but present as if you're productive as a being, and then you attempt to be productive on top of that, it's too much. You already are productive. You're already there. And that with that energy, wanting to be productive on top of that, you actually end up driving other people nuts, or yourself. And one literally came up with, I don't want to kick ass anymore. And it's like, sometimes that actually doesn't work, and the only ass you're kicking is your own. So that sense of you're already there, there's comfort in that, because as you continue the play, if you play at something, you just get better and better at it when you play at it. It has its own energetic vortex that keeps you moving through to places you never thought you'd ever stand or be in. And all it took was being there and continuing from that place forward. So where it went to after that was beings who've actually been doing that. And what showed up was, having lived in this world, we're all doing that in our own way. And it looks a mess, but individually, that's what it takes to grow in. I think there was a saying from Steiner, but I've made it kind of my own to some extent, which I say, a flower does not mind that its roots are in soil. There is nourishment in this shit. And through the nourishment of all of that, flowers grow. And they live in this domain. We all have aspects of where we feel we are above all of that. And that's when you can become the observer and see how the world works. And it can look incredibly messy and impossible to unravel. I mean, the darkness and the worst of the worst that we don't even want to think about is in this field. And I see that area pretty much equivalent to the large intestine. It's got all sorts of shit in there, but there's gold in that shit. There are literally, physically, beautiful gems and gold in that through the process of going through the large intestine, they actually become extracted and go into our body and does great healing in there, or restoration or continuation of repair. It comes from this shit. So what showed up was that there were beings who, by default of that spiraling that happens, we end up in this place. And this being was feeling quite shitty and didn't know what was going on. And it felt as if this being felt like a different species, not relating anymore. And in really getting that, you start to realize you're the observer. You have a better observation point. And having that, you can interact more readily in the seeing and in how one can lead and be and bring out the best in what you can see, which again, at some point, will lead to another movement where others may live who see this as shit. And there isn't anyone here that hasn't got that aspect where they see that in others. Like, I'm okay, but I can see that that is shit. Then what showed up was a being who came, who in this aspect was able to say, I have the capacity to stand in this and to hold the space. That's a pretty powerful position. It has an immensity of love and compassion in it. And then there was the being that was in this area who wanted to punish. I want to punish these people. How can I make them wake up? I'm going to have to kick their ass so they wake up and be more attentive and aware that I am. Well, that doesn't work. It might for some, but it's certainly not going to work for all. And it was more able to see, yes, that's where people live. Yes, you can give them notice on certain things, and you can say, unless that is done, consequences are in place, which is feet on the ground, logical action to put into place actions that you require for moving forward in business or a project or whatever it is, and that there are consequences that apply. But that's calm, with feet on the ground, not, man, I want to punish them. So we are all, in some way or form, at each of those steps. And the more we can have our feet on the ground and be able to see it and value where you're at, value it, and then with feet on the ground, work out how to then play that. We are all soil to others that blossom through it. And there are others that are soil that we blossom through. All have value. And in that way, eventually, this gets sorted as more and more flower and bloom and blossom into flowers we've not yet seen, that are yet to be. And it all comes from knowing you're already there. And observing with feet on the ground how to be in that place, and to actually be able to say, yeah, I can stand in this shit, and there's gold there. So the card that was pulled at the end was gentleness. Be gentle with yourself and others. Let go of those harsh judgments. And that includes judgments you feel from other people. Let them go. They may not have the perspective. They may be in their own, everything is shitty and I'm the only one that's great. Not pleasant. Tread gently upon the earth with a reverence for life. Spend some time surrounded by nature and feel the gentle flow of growth around and within you. It is not to be forced, but gently nurtured and allowed. Gentleness is a strength. Feel its awesome power. You are already there. Play well.